Good morning, and thank you for joining. For those who were unable to attend our campus improvement plan in person, I wanted to make this recording so that way you're able to still understand what's going on here at Rogers Elementary School within our district, and just kind of have that better understanding of what you missed. And if you have any questions, always feel free to email, call, set up a meeting, and I will be glad to go over anything with you. If you have any questions or concerns, please again feel free to reach out. A lot of the documents I'll be going over will be on the slideshow. There's going to be a few that are not on there necessarily. I will have those uploaded at the end. So we're right underneath the link for this recording, you'll see a couple of attachments, and that's where you can find those other documents that I may kind of briefly show in or something to that matter, but they won't be actually on the screen. I was unable to get them uploaded correctly for you. And again, I do apologize. We gotta love technology and how it goes. But again, thank you for watching and caring so much about Rogers Elementary School just as much as I do. We all want to see the elementary be the best that we can be, as well as be the best district that we can be. And it takes you, as well as all of us, working together as a great team to make that effort and to make everything happen. So again, I'm Dr. Amy Von Stosh. I am the principal here at Rogers Elementary School, and we will go ahead and kind of dive on in. So with that, this might be a little hard to see, and I can go ahead and just go over it really quick. So what you're seeing right there is our data summary sheet. And in our data summary sheet, I'm going to go ahead and get my paper copy just so I can see it a little bit easier as well as I'm talking about it. You will see that we have our overall rating for 24-25 as well as the previous year, a 23-24. And that is a D for both years. We did drop from a 65 this year to a 68 the previous year in 23-24. You'll see a decline in Domain 1, which is our student achievement. You'll see a decline in Domain 2, which is school progress. And then within that, we did have a 1-point raise for academic growth. We declined in relative performance, as well as declining and closing the gaps. You'll see our star performance there as well, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about those charts that you're seeing there. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a minute. But before we get started with digging into everything, I wanted you to see the overall accountability, the big picture of where we are at as a campus. So you'll kind of understand why this is so important to us and why we're working really, really hard to get where we need to be and to do the things that we need to do. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on where we're at as a campus currently. So right now, the Rogers Elementary School, we serve 432 students in pre-K 3 all the way to 5th grade. The campus is composed of 38.7 Hispanic Latino students, 55.8% are white, 1% African American, 0.5% Asian, and 3.3% of our students are 2 or more races. Of these students, 54% are identified as economically disadvantaged, 24% receive special education services, and 10.4% are emergent bilingual. So additional populations include 13 military-connected students, 3 foster care students, and 5 students identified as homeless. A total of 189 students have been flagged under our early reading indicator, demonstrating there's a significant literacy need in our lower grades. And I really emphasize that because we're going to go into that later as we start talking about the goals of our campus. The campus maintains an average daily attendance of 95.3, but chronic absenteeism remains a concern at 11.7%. And that's a burdensome number to kind of deal with right there because that's something we really need to work on. If our students aren't here at school, they're not learning. So not only are we wanting them here, for other reasons, we need them here to be learning so we can continue to grow their little minds and grow their hearts. So before we really start digging in and looking at everything specifically, what we did was we did create a comprehensive needs assessment and identified 8 problem statements. First, nearly half of the student body had been flagged for early reading risk, and that revealed gaps in our foundational literacy instruction and early intervention. Second, almost one-fourth of the campus receives special education services, and these students consistently underperform compared to their peers due to inconsistent inclusive practices and limited progress monitoring. Third, more than half of the student body is economically disadvantaged, which achievement gaps that highlight the need for greater equity in instructional resources and family supports. Fourth, emergent bilingual students make up 10.4% of enrollment, and that continues to show achievement gaps because of inconsistent use of ESL and sheltered instruction practices. Fifth, data shows that while ADA is strong, and again, ADA is our attendance, our average daily attendance, it's strong, but our chronic absenteeism impacts learning and it's linked to limited campus-wide interventions and family accountability. Sixth, the lack of bilingual certified staff and limited staff diversity that indicates a gap in equity and culturally responsive teaching. So I know there's a lot of kind of big words there. Again, if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll deep dive into it a little bit more with you. The seventh is our family engagement among economically disadvantaged and emergent bilingual families is inconsistent due to barriers such as language, scheduling, limited parent education opportunities. Finally, vulnerable populations such as our homeless, our foster, our military connected students, they lack consistent wraparound supports. Staff have had limited training in social, emotional, and trauma informed practices. So what we did was for our comprehensive needs assessment and for our campus improvement plan, we kind of came together and we created some different goals that we'll review in just a few moments. And amongst those goals, we had different learning objectives that we'll review as well. And then just ideas of how are we going to get to those goals. And those were things that were also discussed amongst our in-person meeting. So again, if you ever feel like you want to add anything or you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. So really quick though, we'll go ahead and just start diving into our data just so you can kind of have a better idea real quick of where we are at. So what you're seeing right there, again, as I told you, we will get into our STAR data so you can kind of understand. This is from 24-25. So this is last year's data. Your yellow right there, that is your reading scores. The blue is your math, and that green is your science. Only fifth grade takes science, so that's why you only see the science there for fifth grade. You can see across the board that our reading is higher all the way across from third grade to fourth grade to fifth grade. Our reading, we have definitely been pushing, and so now we got to push back on math as well, and we don't want it to fall to the side. So again, here is, oh, I'm so sorry about that. That is the same slide. Whoops. Okay. So, is that the same slide? It is. All right. I'm so sorry. So again, I thought I was putting in our meets and our masters because that was for approaches. So I will upload our meets so you can kind of see where our students fell at there. Because again, approaches means like you're right there. So I'll start kind of explaining it a little bit more. Masters means you've got it. You know the material. You're ready to move on. You probably even know some of the next year's material. Meets means you've met the standard. You are exactly where you need to be. You know the material. Approaches means you're almost there. You're right there, you'll be fine to continue on. You're right there. You've got the material down. We just got to keep growing you a little bit more because you're approaching that grade level expectation. So you can see for our approaches, since it is still there, we did have for third grade, our numbers were a little bit lower. We were just over 60% and just under 60% for reading and math. Fourth grade, we were at a little over 80%. And then for reading, it looks like a little above 70% for math. And then fifth grade, we were under 80% for all three. Looks like reading was just over 70, math was just over 50, and science was right at 65. So when you look at the rest of them, I will again have it uploaded for our meets. And our meets is a lot lower. Third grade, we were under 30% for both. Fourth grade, we were at 45% for reading, 65% for math. And for fifth grade, we were around 40% for reading. Looks like we were roughly 20, maybe a little more than 20% for math. And then we were at like 20% for science. So our numbers weren't where we would like to see them, but that's something we can definitely continue to grow and work on. Unfortunately, when you see our master's list, you're going to see those columns are getting a lot lower. Within those columns, you will notice also that our third grade, we had less than 10% get masters for reading and math. For our fourth grade, we had less than 40% get masters for math, and we had less than 25% get it for reading. And for fifth grade, we had less than 15% across the board for reading, math, and science. So again, that was for masters. So we just really got to, we need to work there. A big observation that we can take away is reading is showing stronger consistency than math. With fourth grade reading, 81% approaches and 23% masters. That's a huge strength here that we have at Rogers Elementary School, and that's really exciting. Math, it was a performance drop most sharply in fifth grade. We had 23% meets and 8% masters. So again, those are just some areas that we really want to work on. Science in fifth grade shows significant need. We had 17% meets with 6% masters. We had growth, which was our domain 2, and as it shows up there, domain 2. For our growth, it was at a 59, and then it was at a 58 from the previous year. But it held steady, but it's still kind of low. It's not exactly where we're wanting it. So it's definitely highlighting a need for accelerated student progress. So one of the implications we can kind of take from this is that we've got to focus on fifth grade math and science, third grade reading and math foundational growth. We need to strengthen that home literacy and math support and attendance initiatives to address the growth gaps, as well as provide targeted coaching in math problem solving and science inquiry. And those are things that we're going to really start working on and seeing where we can get to and how we can grow our students. And something else that we'll be posting that you'll be able to see, and it will look similar to this. Again, this paper right here, it showed where Rogers Elementary is, and it showed that our overall rating was a D, as I talked about earlier, as well as our overall accountability right there shows you as a D. But I want you to see where we compare out with other schools who are within the same kind of category as us. They have the same setting as us. The numbers are really close to ours. So Salado ISD, for example, is not on here because they are not like us. They don't have the same or close to the same number of students that we do. They don't have the same number of EcoDis students. They don't have the close to the same number of special education students. So we're looking at students who are in our comparison group. So you'll be able to see that to kind of see where we fall at as well. But to address these needs that we had talked about, Rogers Elementary School has established aligned goals and strategies. And that's kind of what you're seeing right there is our front cover page for that. So what you'll see is that we're going to go through this, and there's going to be different things that we're going to do, different things that we're going to talk about, and just how we're going to solve these problems, how we're going to address them, and what is the best way to get where we need to be. All right, so looking into it, we have our first one, which is our goal number 1, And we had came up and we together decided that Rogers Independent School District students will perform at or above the state average at the approaches, meets, and master's level of the STAR assessment in at least 49 of the 60 categories, or 82%. So with that, that was our first goal that we said we are going to work on, and that's what we're going to hit. And as you see there, we do have different strategies there on how we're going to get there. I'm sorry, give me just one moment. All right, so with our goal one of reaching there, we have a couple of strategies that we're going to be able to utilize on how the best way to meet that need and help us to reach our goal. So with that, strategy one that you can see there is to utilize high quality instructional materials and follow the TEKS resource system, the scope and sequence with fidelity. So with that is we want our teachers to be using that TEKS resource system. It's our curriculum that we are following, and it lines it all out for our teachers, telling them what TEKS we need to be teaching and things like that. And I think, again, following that, we're going to see a growth with our students. Our strategy two is that K through third grade students will be teaching daily phonics lessons and implement the required phonics program with fidelity. That is something that we have actually just put into place as well. We went through and we ordered UFly for our K through third students. And it is a phonics-based program that our teachers have been trained on. They are implementing it into their classrooms on a daily basis. So that's something that we're hitting every day. So those students are learning those basic foundational reading skills and how to decode words, how to read words, how to break down words, and they're getting all those things that they really need. And for strategy three, it just states that RES will utilize a system to identify students in need through multi-tiered support system, which is also known as MTSS, individualized educational plans, which is known as your IEP, and those are for our special education students. And then our language proficiency assessment committee, and that's our LPAC, and those are for students who their primary language is not English. So again, to kind of go back to the beginning of that statement is we're going to utilize a system to identify students in those areas that they're needing. And so with that will improve our math and science scores to reach grade level. It's going to increase reading comprehension and writing to reach those grade levels as well. So that is for goal one. For goal one, we have another performance objective. And with that, oops, I'm so sorry. Let me get to my next page. And I think again, I'm so sorry, that is a repeat. Okay, this page is not. So with this one, this is just some more strategies that we are going to be doing. And this is going to help us meet our goal as well. Because remember, goal one again was that we are going to hit those categories from at least 49 of the 60 categories, or 82% of our students are going to be at the state average for approaches, meets, and masters on the level assessment. So again, another strategy that we will be using is to provide targeted professional development through pre-service training, embedded school-alone professional development, off-site professional development, on-site, meaning we are bringing those people here, we're teaching our teachers, we're training our teachers, we're getting all the help that they need to help our students. If our teachers don't know what they're teaching, or they don't know how to utilize a program, it's not doing us any good. So in order to grow our students, we have to grow our teachers, and that's one of our strategies that we are going to work on. Strategy number 4 is that RES will rework regular professional learning communities, which is also known as PLC, or as the students know it as extra specials, because they get to do an extra class time for that period and do something a little more learning and engaging and fun. And we're having those on a weekly basis. So that way teachers, again, are getting that small PD time with us to be able to learn everything and do it all. Strategy 5 is just science teachers at each grade level will teach science daily for the number of minutes required on the master schedule. And with that also comes the fact that they're going to be utilizing our science lab. So the science lab is offered to all teachers, and it is expected that they are using that. And we have it. We are keeping it stocked up with materials. We want those students in there learning and engaging, and what better way to do it than being hands-on and with everything going. Our goal number 2 that we set up was RES will retain quality staff and foster purposeful recruiting. With that, you'll kind of see that we have a couple of strategies out listed, and it's just to acknowledge, recognize, and celebrate success. That's again why you'll see all of our posts on social media. You'll hear about different celebrations going on in the hallway. We want to keep our staff that we have. If we're keeping them, that means we're not having to go and train new staff. This is how we do things. This is what we want to do. This is where we're growing. This is our positives. These are our negatives. It just takes away so much. And they've already got that relationship built with the students, with the other staff. So again, holding on to that culture of the teachers that we already have is so critical. And we're going to make sure that we are getting them where they need to be. We want to keep our teachers, where they're at. We want to grow them and love them. And so the best way to do that is, again, recognize and acknowledge their success that we are seeing. We're going to support professional growth. And that's something we talked about previously is, we'll bring those people in. We will send them out places. We will do what we got to do to make sure that they are learning as well as their students. We're going to provide a positive and safe culture among students, staff, and teachers, again, to help maintain that quality. And then for our last strategy for this is to provide opportunities for staff members to voice concerns and have them validated by administration. With that just means that I take seriously any concern that they have, because I want to make sure that we are where we need to be. If there's something going on that they are not happy with, we need to work on it. I want to make sure that they're seeing things that maybe I'm not. I don't see every aspect of everything. I remember being in a classroom, but I'm not there all the time. So if there's any concerns, we want them to voice them to us. And that again is why it's a strategy there, because I need them to know that they've got to feel comfortable. They can come talk to myself. They can talk to Ms. Usselton or the instructional coach as well to make sure that they are getting everything that they need. Our goal number 3 that we have is that RES will promote a culture that is safe, respectful, and responsible. And I'm sure you've heard your students say that multiple times because we repeat it every morning as part of our Eagle Pride chant that we do. And it's just something that we're telling ourselves and we're telling our neighbors and our friends that that's what we're going to follow. We are going to be safe, respectful, and responsible. So in order to do that, we're going to provide constructive feedback and dialogue to staff through various formal and informal means. So we're going to be in those classrooms. Your students are going to be saying like, oh my goodness, Dr. Bonstage is always in here. Miss Usselton's always in here. Miss Easterwood's always in our rooms. And it's going to become part of the norm. We're going to be in those classrooms. We're looking to see what kind of instruction's going on with your student. Are your students listening? Are they engaging into the lesson? Is the lesson fun for the students? Those are the things that we're looking for. Is the teacher teaching the right materials? Do they have everything they need in order to be successful as a teacher? So we're going to be in there helping them. And then, of course, strategy number 2 is that we're going to celebrate those professional and personal successes with staff members. Again, and that comes back to that personal recognition and that public recognition. We know not everybody wants it, but we're going to show it out because that's who we are. And we want to make sure that we're getting there. All right. For goal number 3, there it is RES will promote a culture that is safe, responsible, and respectful. Safe, respectful, and responsible. And for that, this one is more or less kind of for the stakeholders. We want to make sure that we're developing systems for communication with all of our stakeholders to develop that positive relationship, that culture, and that climate. So, for that, we do have two strategies that are being listed there. And again, that's to conduct parent events. And within those parent events, it's like it includes meet the teacher, literacy night, stream night, trunk or treat, Christmas programs, award ceremonies, Thanksgiving dinner, book fairs, you name it, Title I presentations. We want to host things where you are getting to come into our building and you're getting to see all the fun things that we're doing. You're getting to be a part of it. We want you here. We want you to feel invited, to feel welcome, to feel like you are a part of this school just as much as your kids are. Our second strategy, as you can see there, is to communicate and receive input from parents through various outlets, including social media, district communication applications, and a parent-teacher organization. If you're not part of our PTO, you should think about it. We have such an amazing PTO here. Our PTO, excuse me, our PTO is district-wide. They are no longer just elementary. They opened up a couple of years ago to take over the entire district. They felt like they would be better beneficial that way because they saw that the PTO for middle school and high school wasn't really taking off. So you don't have to have an elementary kid to be a part of the PTO. They would love to have you join. They are part of the reasons that some of those classes are able to get extra things. They supply our PE with a huge fundraiser that PE is able to buy a lot of materials that they are needing. PTO provides like boo breakfast for our staff. Little things like that make a big difference. And they reach out to the community for a lot of assistance as well. PTO also provides just random treats for our staff. For Teacher Appreciation Week, they take over and treat our staff and teachers to amazing lunches and items and just different things that our staff deserve. So, again, that's our PTO. But when we're talking about other things as well, you're going to get surveys this year. And we're striving for those surveys, for those results. We need those survey results because with those survey results, what they're going to do is they tell us how we're doing. They tell us, are you receiving the communication? Is there something you would like to see more of? Maybe we're sending out too much information. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I need you to back off a little bit. We're getting over communicated. We need to know those things. So you're going to see a lot of surveys. I need to know kind of how are your children feeling when they're at school? Are they like, yeah, I can't do this? Things like that. So again, those surveys are very critical for us. And those are things that we need to know kind of what's going on. All right. We have goal number 4 here. And this is just by the end of the 25-26 school year, student attendance will maintain or exceed an average of 96%. Again, with attendance, one of the papers you will see that will be posted is going to be one from our TEA, our Texas Education Agency, and they're showing kind of our attendance rate. Again, we talked about it earlier. Our score is a 95.2. The minimum score is a 95.4. So we are barely missing it, but that is definitely something that we need to work on. We want to get those kids here. We want to make sure that they are coming, that they are learning. When we look at our attendance rate as overall, and we kind of backdate things and look at things and see how have we been doing in the past? Are we getting better with coming to school? Are we not getting better? We can kind of start. So 24-25, again, we were at 95, what did I say? 95.4%. For 22-23 school year, we were at 95.4% again, with the state being 93.3. So we were above average there. But our district was at 95.6. So that means the middle school and high school helped bring us up a little bit. For 21-22, the previous year before that, we were at 94.7. So we saw growth and then we kind of steadied out. So with that, Again, the state was at 92.2, and we were above the state. But our big thing, and like I talked about earlier, was attendance is good. Like, that's great. But it's our chronic absenteeism that's really starting to hurt us. And so, with that, I don't know if I have this year's numbers. I don't. And I do apologize for that, for not having the 24-25. But I can tell you for 22-23, we were at 11.7%. 21-22, we were at 15.7. So we have gotten better, but again, that's still an area that we really need to work on, and that's something that we're going to continue to work on. So with that being said, that is something that we spent quite a bit of time as a community, as a committee, talking about when we were all meeting in person that day for this meeting. We talked about how can we bring that up? What can we do for that? What is that going to look like for us? Because we want our students to be here. So, as you'll see, our strategies is to communicate importance of attendance for learning through our newsletters, which you'll see it on our weekly news or biweekly newsletter. We have that posted on there about attendance. We'll do calls home if you're starting to miss too many. Teacher communication through Parent Square, social media, campus event meetings. Again, we want to maintain a 96% average or better. That is our goal for this year. We're going to monitor weekly attendance through reports and take action on those frequent absentees through phone calls home, attendance letters, truancy procedures. We might even have to put a parent on a behavior plan, which is a behavior attendance plan, which helps us to help you. Whether that means you're needing help getting your student to school, getting an alarm, whatever it may be, let us help you so your student can be successful. We are also going to incentivize high attendance rates through monthly grade level rewards and recognition during quarterly award assemblies. That was something that we had talked about doing. And as a committee, we talked about different ideas that we could kind of come up with. There were a lot of great things brought up. They talked about how secondary is doing a drink shop, every 9 weeks. Something that was brought up for the elementaries because it's a little different for elementary, but maybe taking the grade level with the highest percentage of attendance at the end of the month and treating them, or at the end of the 9 weeks and treating that particular grade level to where they are getting rewarded for having a high attendance. We did get to treat our fourth graders, and I think it was a couple of third grade classes a couple of weeks ago, because their entire grade level was here. So it was a simple treat, as wear a hat one day. They got an extra 5 minutes of recess because they were all here learning. So we felt like giving them that extra reward was what they needed. If they're coming to school working hard, they deserve that extra 5-minute break outside. But attendance and so that includes that. Attendance will be improved by reducing chronic absenteeism below 10%. That is also our goal this year, and we're going to do that through incentive programs. We're going to closely monitor and counselor-led case managements. Our equity and diversity will be addressed. We're going to train 100% of our staff in culturally responsive practices. Because again, we want your students here. So if they're not here, we're going to really look into why. Why are they not coming? Is it because of something going on? Is there an issue that we can help with? We want to be there for your kid. So we're going to do whatever we can do. And that was kind of all the main points that I talked about during our meeting, but I did want to go over a few other things just to kind of talk about that were brought up during our committee meeting, because I don't want you to feel like just because you had missed it that you missed out on everything, because you didn't, and you are still a great part of everything that we do. So when we were talking about, again, the perfect attendance was setting up a way to communicate the send out to parents. And again, we're going to make sure that we're more mindful about sending things out on Parent Square, on Facebook, on our PTO Facebook, on our PTO GroupMe page. We want to make sure that we're communicating when those rewards are happening, so you're aware, because that was one thing that we had heard was some of the communication wasn't happening all the way around. So they may not have known in time, or they felt like a day's notice wasn't enough and they needed a few more days. And we understand that. And that again is on us. And we do apologize for not getting that information out to you sooner. So we want to make sure we're working on that. Something that we had heard concerns about as well was what are we doing about behaviors, because they felt like behaviors were kind of intruding on our scores and felt like that's why our teachers were struggling so much with some of our teaching. And they felt, that was a concern that was brought up, and it was a great concern and a valid concern. What we have done was we started and we created a special education / behavior self-contained classroom. Meaning, if we have a student who is served under our special education service program and they are considered a behavior student or they are very intellectually low, then we are looking at maybe putting them into this self-contained classroom. This classroom is built specifically for certain students. It's not built for every student that falls under our special education umbrella because, again, as you heard our population earlier, that's a little over 25% of our students, or 22%. So that would be a lot of students. That's not what we're looking at. So we did open that classroom up, and I will say, opening up that classroom a few weeks ago, our behavior referrals have come down drastically. So that has been a plus. We did hear from teachers that they are feeling they're able to teach more. They're having to not worry about different things and other aspects as much. So we are providing support for our staff and we are getting things going. So that should be helping our staff and our teachers and our students as well. We are going to see every student for who they are and not just a number. And that's part of who we are here at Rogers. We are going to make sure that we know these kids by name. We're going to be able to identify them quickly. We want these students to know that they are loved, that they are cared for here, and that we are doing everything we can. And so again, that's why these 4 goals that we've set into place with all these different strategies, I know it sounds like a lot, but we're only doing this because we care about our kids. And that's why we invite the community to kind of come in and be a part of this with us and help us grow and help us do everything together. Again, but we're going to get these students where we need to be. And something else that we're working on as well, just kind of why I'm on this page about it, is that we're going to reduce our office referrals. I talked about that earlier with that classroom, how that has drastically brought it down. And that's our goal, is to continue to do that. So again, there's a lot of information I just spewed out to you. I know it was a lot, kind of fast and furious, but if you have any questions or concerns, and my office is always open to you, please feel free to email me, call me, again, set up a meeting. You know I'm always willing to talk with you. And a lot of these goals are across the district. This is something that we are doing as a district, not only here at the elementary, but secondary as well. We want to make sure that we're working together so each campus can be the best that they can be. Each campus is growing. We love our students here at Rogers ISD, and we're going to continue to model that, and we're going to continue to grow that for our students, for our staff, and for our teachers, because they deserve the absolute best. And again, I hope you have a great day, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.